Hello everybody, hey y'all, welcome back to my blog. Please pardon my voice today, I'm just getting over a cold and it's a little rough. For those of you who've been watching and reading my blogs over the past couple of weeks, welcome back. This blog is called Finding Your Inspiration, which in other words means doing your research. So I wanted to make this video to go quickly through all the books that I read for research and inspiration before I began the writing process. So I have here a nice big stack of books that I'm gonna go through and explain why I chose each book and how it helped me or didn't help me. So just to recap my memoir, the main themes in my memoir are an immigration story, as I am an immigrant myself, Asian American stories, I'm an Asian American, Indian American specifically, stories of loss, losing a family member to medical issues, so stories about health issues as well. So I began with none other than Jessica Handler. And I was introduced to her first when she came to visit one of my classes at Scaachi. She came there and she gave us a little workshop. So that's when I picked up her books and started reading them because I was like, hey, I'm writing a memoir. And she wrote a book about how to write a memoir about loss. So this one is called Braving the Fire, and it's actually a guide to writing about loss. Invisible Sisters is the actual memoir, and then Braving the Fire is where she talks about how to write a memoir and the process of writing about loss and the stages of grief and how to get your words down and how it can be healing to write about your loss as well, even if you don't plan on publishing. Just getting the stories down. So since my memoir is also about me losing my brother to medical issues, I started with Braving the Fire, which has lots of great exercises to get you writing, to get you thinking, and to get you into the process of writing about loss. So this is very helpful. It's also a good reference book. It's one that I can keep going back to if I feel stuck. I can go back to it, do some of the writing exercises, whatever applies to me at that stage, and get me writing. So yeah, this is Invisible Sister. This is the actual memoir where she talks about, everything her family goes through over the illness and the deaths of her sisters, and how her family deals with it. Of course, like I said, immigrant stories, Asian American stories. So I looked through some Asian American writers, not necessarily Indian American writers, but Asian American writers. So another book I read is called Tell Me Everything You Don't Remember by Oakley. And this is it's a fascinating story. Christine had a stroke where she lost part of her memory, and so she writes this memoir based on journal entries and whatever little snippets she remembers or other people remember and have told her about. So it's written in a very interesting way. It's very repetitive, and I think that's a technique she used on purpose to show how repetitive her life was every day. To her it felt new, but she was having to repeat the same things every day over and over because she didn't remember what she did, like, an hour before or the day before. One thing I did learn from this book, as you can see, I ripped through all my books with all these tabs, but one thing that I did not enjoy about this book was the voice, and I couldn't quite connect to the character. I think the story is fascinating, but I did learn what I don't want to do with my voice when I write my memoir. The main character in this book seems very passive, and with the character build up, like, I'm not sure when and if she ever has an epiphany or has a breakthrough through the issues that she's dealing with. So there were pros and cons to this one. Definitely worth the read because it is a great story, and it's fascinating about mental health, just not having a short-term memory and how crazy that is. Okay, so those are all serious books. Humor is very important to me in writing, so the next couple of books I'm going to show you include humor. So, of course, immigrant story, Asian American immigrant story, humor. I could not skip this one. Fresh Off the Boat by Eddie Huang, and a lot of you might know him from Viceland, Huang's World. And yeah, so this is the book he wrote. There's of course a sitcom now called Fresh Off the Boat, which is nothing like the book. It's very loosely based off the characters of the book, but it's really nothing like the book. So the book is a completely different world. Characters are so different, and it's one of those books that talks about tragedy but still spins it in a humorous way. So it's not, one thing I didn't want my memoir to be is just make everybody cry all the time and just be depressing. So I wanted to include humor, and I love humor writing. And so that's what I got out of this book, is how to talk about really tragic, really difficult things in life and still able to make people laugh at the same time. And of course his voice is very raw, very straightforward, and that's, I think, what gives it a lot of the humor. So this is definitely one of my top picks for if you are writing an immigrant story, memoir, or if you just want to know how to write about difficult situations and make them funny. Fresh Off the Boat, definitely very important. Next one is by Scaachi Koul, and she is an Indian-Canadian writer. And her book is called One Day We'll All Be Dead and None of This Will Matter. I thought this book was so great because we don't have a lot of Indian American Canadian writers out, and the ones that I have been exposed to, the ones that are have gained popularity and things like that, not many of them do humor, and not many of them do memoir. So this is Scaachi Koul, and so this is one of those precious gems I found, and it's a new book. She talks about Indian culture, specifically Kashmiri culture. That's where her family is from, and she dives into all these serious issues as well, social issues, personal issues like body issues, gender issues, all kinds of things, keeping it lighthearted and humorous. So I definitely love this book, especially because she's telling our stories here, Indian American stories, or Canadian. Okay, then of course the one and only Issa Rae, Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl. So again, a woman writer, hilarious. I don't know if you guys have seen the YouTube series, but she wrote a memoir after the YouTube series. So definitely worth a read, extremely funny. And again, it's the voice. Humor and memoir both are about your voice. That's what sets you apart. And so that's what I got out of this, how to be more myself, raw, straightforward, and humorous. Talking about serious issues. Again, she talks about immigrant issues in here. Her father is an immigrant from Senegal, so very relevant to my topic. Then I also read Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. Of course, is about his life in South Africa. He was born during apartheid, when it was illegal for black people and white people in South Africa to make babies. This is a great memoir because he really talks about serious issues, family issues, all kinds of issues. And he somehow manages to make you cry and make you laugh, both. So again, very relevant to my, research. And I would highly recommend this book too. So that was most of the books. I have 2 more books here that I want to get to real quick. I'm going to throw in Roxane Gay's Hunger. I did read this while I was researching, although it wasn't part of my original list. It came out while I was researching. I was like, I have to get this. Again, great book. Talks about some real issues. And the voice, that's what I got out of this book. Writers like Roxane Gay encouraged me to speak out, to be myself, to let myself be heard, and not be afraid of what people might think. Don't be afraid to tell your story and to let your voice, very raw. So I saved the best for last. Okay, this book, look at all these tabs. Sherman Alexie, the great Sherman Alexie, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. It's his memoir. And now you guys probably know him better with his YA fiction. But he has written a memoir. It's also a very new book. And I haven't even finished going through this book yet, although I've gotten through most of it, as you can see. I haven't finished it yet. Why? Because there are books that make you want to read, and then there are books that make you want to write. And this book makes me want to write. So the reason I'm taking forever to get through this book is I'll read a chapter and then my mind will explode with ideas. And I have to write them down, and I have to, so it takes me forever to get through this book, because every time I start reading it, light bulbs start going off, and I'm like, I gotta write this down. It's a great metaphor, or it's a great format, or it's just great writing, So again, Sherman Alexie uses humor, makes you cry, makes you laugh, all in one page. Again, like Roxane Gay's Hunger, his book, his memoir also encourages me to really be raw, to use my voice, not hold back my emotions, my feelings, or my story. Don't be afraid to tell it like it is. So this is a gem. This is my greatest inspiration. This is my reference book. Everything. This is everything. This book right here. You have to read this. So those were the books. There were more books, but I picked the ones that I was able to apply the most to my research. And that's what I use. Now, of course, you're gonna pick books according to themes of your memoir. I'm hoping any of these books helped you as well. Check them out. Even if they don't relate directly to your memoir, they are great memoirs and they're worth a read. And sometimes you need to read stuff that's, out of exactly your scope to get ideas and, inspire you. So I hope this was helpful. And you guys leave comments below. Let me know what you're reading and what books have really helped you write. Like I said, I'll repeat this. There are books that make you want to keep reading. There's books that make you want to keep writing. Share with me which books, really want to make you keep writing too, and some books that you just enjoy reading that have helped you with your memoir writing process. So thanks for watching, and, stay tuned. Every Wednesday, there's a new blog post. Next week's blog post is going to cover how to find your voice, which basically means after all this inspiration and research, how do you write like you? How do you write with your unique voice? How do you find that? I will see you guys here next Wednesday. Thanks for watching, and have a good holiday season.